to allow him to introduce himself. He is speaking on independence or autonomy.
Thank you very much, Wendy. It's a pleasure having met you because I saw your documentary on the internet and found it really very impressive. I'm a journalist from India. I am currently also associated as a consultant with a think tank called the Institute of Defense Studies and Analysis. What I speak out here is purely my personal opinion, and it should not be construed in any which way that this is the opinion of the think tank I'm currently associated with. I'd also like to make another thing very, very clear. I trust I can speak very openly and freely, and if I ruffle some feathers, it'll be taken in the right spirit. You know, the topic which has been given to me, independence or autonomy, is actually unfair to ask an outsider to speak on this topic. Whether the Baloch want to be independent, whether they want autonomy, whether they are going to be satisfied with a truly federal structure, is something which is for them to decide. It is not for me or for anybody else, anybody outside of Pakistan or anybody outside of Balochistan to decide this. This is a question which the Baloch will themselves have to decide, and this is something which will be decided in the course of time and not by people like me. Having said that, I've been a student of Pakistani politics for many years now, but the first time that the Baloch issue really came on my radar screen was sometime in 2004, 2005. The insurgency had still not started, but it was simmering on the surface. And it was during a trip to Pakistan. I happened to meet a number of Balochi legislators, members of parliament, some ordinary people, a couple of journalists and others. And conversations for them led me to believe that something is just not right as far as Balochistan is concerned. When I went and spoke to other Pakistani non-Baloch friends in Pakistan, the general impression which I got was that there was as far as they were concerned, there was absolutely no problem in Balochistan. They said that Baloch nationalism is dead and gone. There are some disaffected people who are making a song and dance about Balochistan, and really there is no problem which is there in Balochistan anymore. And I found this a great disconnect between what the Baloch was saying and what the non-Baloch were saying inside Pakistan. Sure enough, a couple of months later, and my own analysis which I shared with my non-Baloch Pakistani friends was that I said, I think there's going to be trouble out here. And they scoffed at me at that point of time. You know, normally journalists like me have this habit that, look, I wrote something 10 years back. Actually, nobody remembers what I wrote, but I remember. So we have a habit of bragging. And I remember I wrote at that point of time in a Indian website called readif.com, an article titled, "Who Wants to Break Pakistan?" And the conclusion I reached actually at that point of time was that nobody. Because even the Baloch I spoke to at that point of time, this is 2004, 2005, were very disaffected, were very alienated. But at the end of the day, the impression which I got was that they thought that it would probably be a better option for them to stay within Pakistan with all their rights, with their dignity, with cultural rights, rights over their resources, to stay within Pakistan than stay without Pakistan. And I think that is what they wanted at that point of time. And I might be wrong on this, but that is the impression I had. And at the same time, the impression which I got from the Pakistani friends I spoke to was that since there is absolutely no problem, there is absolutely no need to give in on anything which the disaffected Baloch are demanding. And again, this disconnect led me to believe that there is going to be some kind of an upsurge in Balochistan, which might not be very, very good for the Pakistani state. And it was also expected that once this upsurge happens, the Pakistani state will crack down with the kind of brutality which states are famous for whenever they are challenged, whenever their sovereignty, whenever their territorial integrity are challenged. So that was bound to happen. The thing is that over the years, I think while the Baloch upsurge has taken place, and I haven't had the opportunity to travel to Balochistan, but whatever I have been able to follow over the internet, in the media, hearing people, watching television shows, talk shows, and others, a reasonably comprehensive picture which I've managed to get as far as Balochistan is concerned, and it's not first hand in that respect. The sense which I've got is that things have really gone out of control now. And one illustration of that is that, to my mind, this is a pretty benign conference, but the way the demonstration downstairs seems to indicate that it is rattling a lot of people. Why it should rattle a lot of people is something which escapes me, but it obviously is rattling a lot of people. And that is a sign that the situation in Balochistan is not something of which the Pakistanis can be very sanguine about, not anymore at least. Around that time, I think 2005, 2006 is around the time when there was, I think around 2006, when suddenly the insurgency was underway, and there were people like Mushahid Hussain and Chaudhry Shujaat who tried to, come up with some kind of a constitutional package which they thought would satisfy the aspirations of the Baloch. Even at that time, while the constitutional package never really came about, even at that time there were many Baloch who said that this is probably not going to be enough, but maybe it is a good starting point. That package never came about. And what happened was the assassination of Nawab Akbar Bukti. And after that, I think that package, which is now trying to be resurrected by the current government, is probably a case of too little too late, and events have passed that by. How do the Baloch move from where they are at the current moment? That's not a very easy question to answer. And to my mind, one of the biggest problems is that despite the groundswell of opinion inside Balochistan, despite the sense of alienation, disaffection, and which is sweeping through the place, there is no real national movement which one can sense. Looking at the Baloch, I'm reminded of a story which is basically about Indian crabs, but I think it applies perfectly well to the Baloch. There was a ship which was carrying, these boxes of crabs, and crabs from various parts of the world. And on top of each box, they had covered the box with a muslin cloth so that the crabs could not crawl out of the boxes. But there was one box in which there was no muslin cover. And when somebody asked where is this box from, they said it's from Balochistan. It was actually said about India, but I'm using it for Balochistan. And they said, why? They said, because the moment one crab tries to crawl out, the others pull him back in. So nobody can ever get out of the box. And the sense which I get is that is the state of the Baloch national movement also. It's totally disunited. It's totally personality based, largely. Personalities, whether they can do anything for the people or not, have this sense that they are the men of destiny and everybody else is a piece of shit, pardon my language, which is not the way national movements work. And this is really the biggest challenge as far as the Baloch are concerned. Once you have a national movement, then you can decide what your objectives are going to be. I completely agree with Marino when he said that, in the life of nations, decades is a very small period of time. It's a very small period of time. I'm not trying to say that independence is not a legitimate goal to aspire for. But my point is that once you have a national movement, then you can take it one step at a time. You can go in for greater autonomy, you can go in for greater federalism, and take it one step at a time. And if it takes 40, 50, 60, 100 years for you to meet your real aspirations, perhaps wait for that long. I don't see why not. Because if you hurry it up, I don't think you either have the organizational strength, you don't have the political strength, you might get it, and as of now at least, the geopolitics is not going in your favor. Again, until and unless you have some kind of a political movement, Marino again talks about the Dalai Lama and the Tibetan movement. But in Tibet, you have a leadership which people can relate to and talk to. Who do you talk to in Balochistan? You don't know. Nobody knows. And that is, to my mind, a problem. And this is a question which I'm actually throwing at you people, that, can you throw up such a leadership? Can you throw up a kind of a united movement? This does not mean it has to be a single party, but it has to be a single movement. And I, again, take lessons from the Indian national movement. It wasn't only a single party. There were various people, and even within the single party, the Indian National Congress, there were various strands of opinion. The point is, and yet you had a leadership which could, bring all these strands of opinion together towards a national objective. I wonder if the Baloch are going to be able to manage something like that. And I think that is something which you need to aspire for. Because even if you have to use the call of independence, the call of autonomy, the call of greater federal rights, there has to be somebody who can negotiate, who can use all these demands as a leverage to negotiate with the state of Pakistan for their rights. As of now, I think the Pakistani state will very easily pick one against the other, pit one against the other, and actually sabotage the movement, which is what has been happening for plenty of years now. And I think a lot of people out here would agree with me on that. I would love to stand to be corrected, but this is the way I look at things. The other thing is that the way you then carry forward your movement is very important, because as things stand, I don't think Pakistan is ever going to become a genuine federation, let alone give autonomy to the provinces, let alone give the national rights to the various provinces or the various nationalities which constitute Pakistan. Perhaps, again, India offers a lesson in this for Pakistan and for a lot of people like you. We've had our own problems, somewhat similar in nature to what you have had, as far as national rights, linguistic rights, identity issues are concerned. We had these problems, for example, in the south of India, and that was a time when a lot of people, especially in the US and other parts of the world, were predicting that India is not going to stay a united country for very long. A lot of people had predicted the death of India a lot of times. But that did not happen, and the reason that did not happen was that we had a political leadership which was able to marry the identity aspirations of people from various parts of the country and marry it with a national identity. The creation of linguistic states was one such example, and today, 40 years down the line, 50 years down the line, we have a situation where language, while we still have our language chauvinists, but by and large, without any coercion, without imposition of a particular language, a lot of people have taken to Hindi and English as languages with which they can actually move forward in life. Perhaps this is a lesson for the Pakistani state as well, how to accommodate the aspirations of the various people. Will the Pakistani state do it? I doubt it. I have very, very serious doubts about it as of now. But frankly speaking, I think a Pakistani state which is restructured in a way that national rights are guaranteed to all the people in Pakistan, including the Baloch, a Pakistani state which is restructured along more liberal, along more secular lines, I think is a state which people like us in India would be more than willing to accept. I think it is a state which will put a lot of people who are uneasy about the way Pakistan is proceeding right now also at ease. So perhaps there is a case for a restructured Pakistan. Now, in a restructured Pakistan, in which the Baloch managed to get all their political rights, might just be one step in the ultimate objective which you people aim for. But what you have to look for is what is achievable. And it is, again, not my case that independence is not achievable. Whether it's achievable or not is something that you people will have to decide. But, a national movement can be a step at a time kind of a thing, and it does not have to be a maximalist course. And out here, I'll again give you the example from Sri Lanka of the LTTE. The LTTE was a very, very strong movement, very committed. They had a lot of international support, a lot of monetary support from their diaspora. They shot themselves in the foot by killing Rajiv Gandhi and lost all Indian support. But other than that, the support from the rest of the Tamil diaspora around the world never stopped for the LTTE. In the mid-2000s, the LTTE had a wonderful chance to get into a deal with the government in Sri Lanka and get, in large measure, get their aspirations fulfilled. They were in a position to do that, but they continued to insist on a maximalist course. And as a result, they did not even get their minimalist demands. So, perhaps you can take certain lessons from rest of the world, but the most important and the most crucial thing to my mind is that you have to have a unity of purpose and a unity of, a sort of a unity of command. You can't be like these crabs, which each one pulling the other one down, that why is such and such person doing so and so because he's getting all the mileage, I am not. I think that will be destructive for the Baloch cause, as far as I'm concerned. I think I'll leave it out here. I've said certain things which probably many people would not like, but I think I'll just leave it out here and we can take the rest of it at the question hour time.